Wow, that was awesome. That was a great session to start the day, and I think the rest of the sessions for today are going to really keep that trend going. I am very excited to be an African right now and seeing all the talent that is available in the game industry right here on the continent. To see that grow and develop is a very exciting time. Right now, next up is Thierry from Spiel Fabrique. I really hope I'm saying that correctly. Please, if I'm not, correct me at some other point, Thierry. They are doing amazing things in Africa right now. They are presenting and producing multiple games. We are going to hand over to Thierry right now. Please make sure that you're ready with your questions. Put them in the chat section in the Pine messaging server, and we are going to take those questions and keep them for Thierry in the Q&A session at the end of his talk.
Okay, good morning to everyone. I'm very happy to welcome you to this session about our project with Africa, with our company Spiel Fabrique, that is based in Germany. So to start with, maybe I should present myself. My name is Thierry Baujard. I'm the co-founder of Spiel Fabrique, which is an acceleration program between France and Germany to start with, that we set up 4 years ago with my partner Odile Limpa, who is also French like me and living in Düsseldorf in Germany like me. And we've developed this acceleration program 4 years ago. Odile is coming really from the game sector by being the managing director of Ubisoft Germany for many years and working for Blue Byte Studio from Ubisoft in Düsseldorf for many, many years. And myself, I'm coming more from the audiovisual sector, having done quite a lot of film finance in the past and still, and came into game for about 5 years ago and was very interested in the sector and brought basically my competence more on the financing of video game, because that's where I'm coming from. It's really financing for the creative sector. And I'm leading a few companies based in Berlin, focusing on the funding of the creative sector, game, but also music, fashion tech, and of course, audiovisual. So Spiel Fabrique is, as I say, it's an acceleration program. And we are helping about 8 studios every year from France and Germany to develop their games, but also more particularly their studio through this acceleration program. We are focusing, as you can see, mostly on the business side. We're working through mentoring and professionalization of the project, working on financing, working on monetization, marketing, publishing, developing co-production with the support of lots of experts across Europe. It's a virtual acceleration program, so we don't really have a place where people meet, but we are doing regular workshops in France and Germany where people can meet, well, not this year, but normally, and they can develop projects together. We started to create like a small community because we've accelerated now, well, a bit more than 25 French and German studios. And this year, in 2020, we are also very happy to welcome Croatian studio from Switzerland, and I will go, of course, in details about that, some African studio. So we've created a kind of community of about 100 indie developers across France and Germany and a bit beyond. It started to be something really interesting of indie developers looking at having a kind of collaborative approach to video game, which is what we are interested in. And on the right, you can see, of course, some of our supporters, because we are strongly supported by great partners, especially from the public institutions. So we have, of course, different regions like the north of France, or the NRW region in Germany, or in Nouvelle-Aquitaine in France, which is Bordeaux, and then the support of Switzerland Cultural Institute, Arte, which is a Franco-German broadcaster, or Ubisoft Blue Byte in Germany, and then a fund in Flanders in Belgium, and the Goethe Institute as well. So all in all, we are really trying to offer to indie developers in Europe some strong mentoring about the business opportunity and how to work on their game, obviously, but also to make their studio sustainable. So that's what we do on one side, the acceleration. And the second thing, which I will detail a bit later in the presentation, is really about co-production and collaboration between studios to make projects happening. But to go now directly in our subject, which is about Africa, I'm very happy to be able to talk about what we've done as a very small step for Africa at the moment, and definitely interested to do more from next year. But I wanted to share our first experience with our first projects for Africa. So it all started about 2 years ago, I would say, roughly, when we've been contacted by the Goethe Institute, so in Ethiopia, to help, to ask us whether we could help or if we had any idea on how to help a project that they started called Enter Africa, that maybe you've heard. Otherwise, it's enterafrica.org. You can see the project. It's 15 countries, sub-Saharan, that have been developed from Goethe and from Johannesburg as well, to bring together different communities in the different countries looking at the video game sector. And what has been developed through this project until now was kind of board games that have been developed in the different countries. And I mean, the final board game based, on different local games that have been created in the 15 countries. And what was very interesting is that they created like that a kind of unique network of people involved in gaming, but not just on on gaming itself, but around the gaming as well, in terms of design, music, all types of competencies around that. And then, they asked us to come to Ethiopia to do a workshop with them, to get to know them basically, and to understand what was the situation. And we came to Addis Ababa to understand, the needs of these studios, of these people involved in video game, and to look at the project, to understand a bit more how they are thinking of financing the project. And of course, we understood the lack of support from the government in Africa in terms of funding. And we were trying to reflect with them on potential cooperation model, obviously between themselves, between the 15 countries, and that means in each country quite a lot of people, but also externally outside Africa. And it was very interesting and enlightening for me to see that, to see all these people very motivated and very excited about this sector, but of course having really difficulties to understand, okay, how can we move forward? Okay, we have some competency, we have some great ideas, we want to work on African projects, etc. But how do we go further? How can we find some funding for prototype? How can we develop prototype, etc. And of course, what we saw as well is a kind of people, but also studios, etc., who needed a little bit more experience about how to develop and sell a game as well. So we looked into that, and we made some recommendation to the Goethe Institute to develop that further. And what we thought about was to do a kind of test how we can collaborate more with Europe. The idea is not to do European projects, of course, in Africa, but the idea is more to bring African stories and African projects to see how we can collaborate with European studios. And why doing that? Well, basically to professionalize, to get to know other people, and to access some expertise from European studio that could have a bit more mature, but also to have access to funding from Europe, and really go into this idea of of sharing a project and developing a common project together. Okay, and that's what we thought could be really interesting, is that it could be very beneficial for the African studios to, of course, access expertise and access funding, understanding the market, and then for the European studios to develop a project together with African studio could be something also very interesting, and to understand as well the competencies and skills that the African studio can bring, and of course opening to the potential market in big markets in Africa. So that's basically what we said, and another goal was, of course, to grow the local ecosystem in Africa by keeping the studios in Africa to develop their project, not about coming to Europe to do their project, but stay there and do together with European project a game together. And of course, we thought it would be also a very good way to demonstrate to government the potential of the sector, and also showing them that through co-production, African projects could access funding in Europe, and that, of course, one of the big issues is, of course, if the African project cannot bring so much financing, they will not be in a very easy situation when talking to the funds in Europe. So we thought it could be a good leverage system to help the government in Africa to understand that they should also be active on that field. And what we've been discussing is different model on working together. Of course, the easiest model that people know and people use all the time, and in Africa as well, is of course more like outsourcing collaboration. Meaning, okay, if a studio A is there a studio A with an IP, and they outsource part of the development of the project, of the production, to a studio B, and it's a kind of work for hire to develop a game. So that type of collaboration is widely used between the studios, with publishers, etc. It's going there, and I think it works. I mean, it's something that is it could work, it could be developed. But of course, to do that, Studio A needs financing. They need financing to be able to pay the Studio B to develop the project. Of course, if it's a publisher, it's maybe easier, but for a studio, it's a little bit difficult. And what we are looking at more is more like a co-production model that we think will be more interesting. So in that case, the idea is to do the same, is to do a project, a game together, but it's really to try to pool expertise from two studios from two countries, and trying to get the best from the two countries and develop the game together. So it's not one who's asking request another studio to do something, but it's more how can we work together and share IP, share revenues, etc. And today, what we are looking at, especially in Europe now, but we think in Africa it could also work, is to have a studio A from a country that brings a part of the project. Of course, mostly will be the leader of this project. It will bring a special expertise. It will bring access to this country. It will bring some type of funding, so either some financing or the work he has put in his project, and he will do a part of the project in his country. And then the Studio B will co-develop the project and bring also, will share a part of the IP, will bring some expertise, and could bring, of course, some funding from his country. This is completely possible to access money, for example, from France, if a country B is from France, if you go through a co-producer based in France. If you ask it from Africa, of course, that will be difficult and not really eligible coming from Africa. But if you go through a studio in France, will use this money to develop your game in France, that is completely acceptable and eligible. So the idea is to work to develop a project together. Okay, so that's the difference with the work for hire. And the result we think will be could be much better. Could be a better quality project. Could be a bigger production because you are now two and accessing different money, maybe a better market fit because you will understand different markets and you have access to expertise. And I think very importantly as well, it will give you, the two studios together, a strong position or a better position for negotiation if you need private funding or a publisher. If you come alone, of course, as a studio and you have financed only a very small portion of your project and you come to a publisher or financier and ask for a very high level of funding, of course, you are in a situation that is not very easy because you depend a lot on them. If you come to them with a co-producer and having much more money on your project, for your project, I mean, obviously that's easier to go and negotiate with them because of course you will have a higher budget and meaning you will need less financing problem. So we believe this model could be really beneficial to the studios, to the two studios, but also to the publisher or investor because it will take maybe less risk and the project will be more advanced, so you have more chance to access a good publisher, etc. So it's a model that is relatively simple, as you can see, but has been used for many years in the film and the animation sector. As you know, it's a very similar model. Of course, some adaptation have to be done for the gaming sector, but you know, I think it's very close to what has been done in animation, for example, in terms of sharing competencies and everything to be done on computer graphics. So we believe it's a good model, and that's something that we are developing in Europe, and that we would like to offer basically to African studio to get access to. It's not straight easy, and I will talk about some results that we have this year, and I think it's making, you know, it's raising a lot of questions and a lot of difficulties as well. But I think some benefits are there, and we are really thinking it's let's say an alternative route to access finance, access better publishing contract, etc. So it's not for everyone, but it's something that could be really interesting and alternative source. So I just tried to put some benefits and challenges for co-production model like that. I mean, I think of course a strong benefit is the increased access to funding. The local funding with foreign funding, access to strong international expertise to better balance the risk and the benefits between different studios instead of taking the whole risk alone. Higher quality game to enrich game with another culture with different values, and access to new markets and new contacts through publisher and investors. You know, it's if you are co-producing with a studio, for example, that are more experienced than you, for example, you could benefit from their contact and the work they've done in the past. The challenges is, of course, production will take more time, which is a big issue because, as we know, games are always a bit difficult to finish on time. So it will take more time, definitely, because there will be much more communication problem, understanding potential, because of language, because of time difference, because of different type of culture, etc. Maybe also differences in process and management, the way you work between the people, and of course an administrative process that of course you need to follow, especially by public funding, some administrative points, and that could be quite heavy for the group. So it's something to take into account, that's for sure. And but of course, the more you will do co-production, the better you will be into that. And if I remember what happened in the film sector, it's at the beginning it was like that. It was very not difficult, but it was not easy to get people to know each other, etc. But now, 15, 20 years later, you see a lot of production companies having deals with other co-producers and basically working always with the same people or with a group of of co-producer, and they know how to work together. They know each other very well. And after, it's just like they are part of the same studio, basically, but just in different places. So what is very important is that you may know that the big studios doing AAA projects like Ubisoft, for example, they've been using this kind of model, of course, internally with their studios around the world, but they most of the time that's what they do. They ask someone to do this part, another studio to do this part, and then they manage that. So and they do it for this kind of purpose, to not to grow just in one place, but to get competencies from different places and accessing money from these different places. So the idea is to try to adapt a little bit this model that is working for big studio to independent studios in Europe and Africa. And of course, all that is driven a lot by the financing, because we all know one of the weak parts for independent studio is to access funding. And today in Europe, there is a strong trend of investment, of funding, of public funding that is developing. It started between France and Germany, to be honest. France has been active in the game sector for many years at the public level. And then Germany has been doing that as well a lot on the regional side. And then since 2 years, we have now a new federal fund of 50 million every year. So, if we talk just about France and Germany, we're talking about more than 120 million euro per year just for independent video game studios in public funding. So that's quite a lot. And then if you look at other countries like Scandinavia, the Nordic countries, that are very active as well on that, not so much on public, but a lot of private financing or other type of financing, like you see there, more on innovation, R&D, SME investment, etc. And then you see new countries coming with some support, like for example, Belgium is very strong now. I mean, it's developing that. Croatia is developing that. Spain is looking into that as well. I mean, there is a whole trend, I think, of European countries looking into that, because of course it's job creation. It's starting to be a very strong. I mean, it's a very strong cultural value in Europe. Of course, the consumer, most of the young people play, and not just the young people play games across Europe. And of course, we see, and it's not to you that I will tell you that, but of course, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we see that the video game is very crisis resilient, much more than cinema, which used to be the resilient sector. For any crisis, people will still go to the cinema. Well, for once, we have a crisis where people can't go to the cinema. It's not that they don't want, but they cannot go to the cinema. So of course, gaming is quite strong, and governments are realizing that, and private funding as well. So that's what we propose basically to the Goethe Institute and to Enter Africa Network, is to do a pilot project in 2020 to test a little bit that, to test this idea of mentoring African studios, helping them to get to know European studios and see what we can do. So we started the process, in fact, in autumn last year, in 19, and we started with a call for project that we did until mid-December 19. And after that, we did a pre-selection through experts between 15th of December and January. And then we had a final jury on the 15th of January to work on to choose three studio, basically. Just to give you an idea of the final jury. So all the jury we had was with representative from both Europe and Africa. And as I say, we did a pre-selection process with more online juries from the two continents as well. But the final jury, we asked 6 projects to pitch in front of these 6 people. And the idea was to choose 2 projects, which at the end came to 3 projects, but we decided to choose. So you see people from Gameloft, from Orange, from Rwanda, from Epic Games, from Kenya, and from France with Ubisoft. And it was very interesting to see what we came up at the end. Because if I show you now what we had, I mean, we received 67 applications, which is not too bad, I think, for a first call for project. We had 10 countries that were representative. We had 24 applications that we, after the first filtering, and then, as I say, we present 6 projects, and we did 3 projects. So that was quite an interesting model that we developed. So the three countries that we've chosen are these three studios from Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, and Congo. What is interesting is that to see these 3 are French-speaking studios from French-speaking countries. Sorry. To be honest, we received many more applications from countries, but at the end, for the presentation, the jury was much more interested in the French-speaking project. So it was quite a surprise for me, to be honest, because I thought some projects on paper coming from English-speaking countries were I think stronger, but presentations were more convincing coming from these French-speaking countries. So that was the 3. So I'm just going this quick about each one. So WorkD is from Ivory Coast, and I mean, basically it's a mobile racing game that they are developing based on this backcas, which are, I mean, obviously you know about that, about the different type of buses you find in typical African countries, and the idea is to do racing on that, so something which will be online. And it's a young studio created in 2017, and they already created a project, and very passionate about what they do, and we help them with their project. But I will go more into the mentoring after that. The second studio is Kaifo, which is quite a new studio as well, from I think setting up in 2019 in Dakar, Senegal, and they're developing a game called Ama, which is something very aspiring and inspiring, I would say, and really about African value. And that's the project that they've been developing with our acceleration and pitching to the corporation market. So yes, 7 people today, and yes, ambition is to grow and produce AA games for PC and console. So that was also quite a strong vision coming from this studio in Senegal. And the last one is from Congo, and it's called Bonobo Entertainment, and it's a studio that is coming from the animation world, and they are developing this Guardian Dynasty, as a fighting platform video game, and going into through different kingdoms. And it's also a young project, a young animation, but yeah, as I say, more an animation. And they have one video game in production, and one animation movie, and one animation series produced. So of course, for example, there you can see very easily that the creative side of the asset could be done in Congo, but then maybe the coding, etc., could be done in Europe, for example. So these are the 3 projects that were selected for the project. And we went through a mentoring program starting from March. So looking at financing and strategy, looking at creating some visibility on social network, website, presentation, etc. Bringing them to experts. So 6 experts were also given to them to talk to and to get some feedback on publishing, game design, financing, organization of studio, game marketing. And after we started some visibility. Okay, this year was very specific because we couldn't travel, and that was also, of course, during the year. Lot of discussion about whether we'll travel or not, etc. Yes, it will be possible. No, at the end, it's not possible. So we did a lot of online presence. So we developed that, which was quite interesting as well. So, for example, we had a presence at the game dev booster in Berlin during the Berlin Game Week, in Zurich as well for the Ludicious online event. They could present, etc. And then some visibility at the Gamescom at the Indie Booth Arena. Of course, the Gamescom is a very important event in Cologne in August. This year was everything online. So, but they participated in the Indie Booth Arena. All that free of charge. And then they were ready to pitch at our co-production market, which took place on the 22nd and 23rd of September, where they could meet other European studio and develop some projects. And then finally, we provide them with some visibility and booths at in Bordeaux, so online, but not normally in Bordeaux, on the 8th and 9th of October, which had a focus on Africa this year. And it's also a good way for them to present their project to institutions and also to other studios. So to tell you a little bit about what happened at the co-production market. So the co-production market this year, as I say, online, had 15 studios pitching. So 10 French and German, which is, let's say, the core of what we've been doing. So 5 French and 5 German. And we invited this year 2 Belgian studios to attend the market and pitch their project. And we brought, of course, our 3 African studios to be part of that. And what you can see on the right is the interaction that people asked to get after they met each other. So all the studios, met in one afternoon, one by one. We organized pitch, of course, before, so they could watch the pitch of all the 15 studios. And then after that, they could have one-to-one meeting with the studios they wanted to meet. So that's what you see there on the right is the mutual interest, mutual request between the studios. So that means each line means that the 2 studios ask to meet each other and to discuss a potential project together, either from France or from Germany or from Congo, etc. So that was what they decided. And we normally do this co-production market in Strasbourg with the support of Arte, the podcaster, and also the Eurometropole of Strasbourg and Creative Europe in Strasbourg as well. So you see quite a lot of interaction. And now that the project the co-production market is over, we have already 5 co-production projects. We have 1 Franco-African project, so between a French and an African project, and a co-production with 3 parties from France, from Germany, and Africa. So that means they want to work together on that. So 5 cross-border projects. So we are quite happy for 15 participants, because that means that at least 10 participants involved in that. So that's quite nice for us. Just to give you a little bit, feedback from the people who use the platform and the market. What were your main motivation to find the co-production in the market? I mean, as you see, most of them were looking for funding and then specific expertise or to grow the team, etc. So that was something important. Or you see, for example, on the bottom left, you can see whether for them it was interesting to see all the studios, even though it's clear that not all of them will be interested. And 11 responses said that, yes, we're always interested. We want to meet everybody because, it's good for networking, and maybe we'll we'll find out something that we didn't see in the pitch side. And then last, would you recommend the co-production market? And very likely and likely is definitely the most answers we got. It's very productive because in 2 days they meet each other, they meet experts, they meet financiers, they meet publishers, and on a one-to-one basis, and they have to talk to a first common project. So it's very useful. And what we did after 15 or 22 of September is we asked the 5 cross-border projects to develop their common pitch, I would say, and they have pitched that and get feedback from experts on the 20th of November, so last week, but together, so not alone, but the studios together, so the co-production partners, to talk to experts, all of them. And it's been also very interesting to see that. And of course, I don't think that there will be 5 co-production done at the end, products and finance, but I guess we can think that hopefully 2 or 3 will be done. And we are, of course, supporting them as much as we can by giving expertise, by helping them to get in touch with the funders, and to help them to make sure that it's working. So this first pilot project was quite useful, to be honest. Was quite useful to learn a lot about how the studio in Africa were, what are the issues, and there are lots of issues to clear. But now at least we know much better how to do it in a better way, and what are the friction points, I would say, where are the difficulties for the African studio, but also the difficulty for the European studios, and how to make that work better. So to finish, I wanted to talk about the next step for us. Well, we've applied to get the support from the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Germany, and the Goethe Institute, and apparently we don't have the final confirmation, but we received already some kind of acknowledgement that the project was supported, to develop that now in a much broader articulation and development than what we did until now. And if all goes well, we are hoping to start a call-for project in the spring or the summer of 21. I think it will be more the summer. I mean, we will start working on the project in spring, but the call for project will start the summer. And what we are hoping, if everything goes well, will be to create a mentoring workshop at the next African Game Week next December, hopefully offline this time, that we will offer to a group of 8 teams plus other teams that could be interested. We are looking into that, but the idea is to have a selection that will go with us through the whole project, and then also maybe to also support other teams that maybe doesn't fit completely in the co-production model, but that we could also mentor. And the idea is to bring training on project development and funding during next year, African Game Weeks, and then to shoot for a co-production market between African studios and European studios in 2022. I think it will be in April during the Berlin Game Week, to showcase the project and develop common co-production projects. So that's what we would like to do. Now we have a much better idea about how to do it. We have a very good network. We have good partners now. We hope we can do more with the African Game Week as well during the year to grow the community, to get a better call for project, and to get the best teams. I mean, our goal is to find really 8 teams that are motivated, that we can help, that we can develop, and could be the best, the best candidate or best potential partner for European co-producer. And that is a lot to do with who is who, what they want to do, what sort of project. It's something that I'm sure we will need a lot of support from advisors, jury, etc., to find these companies. But we are very excited about it because we think that it's something very interesting, and we also, to be also very clear about that, we had very good feedback from Europe. First, from experts who were very happy about what they discussed with the studio, the professionalism of the studio, and the interest they have. And I would say also the feedback from the public institutions in Europe, who are all intrigued, I would say, with how we can develop collaboration with Africa. I thought that this kind of co-production market is a very good way to get to know each other and understand a bit better how to work together, what are the gaps, where can we be complementary, and how it would work. So I will finish with that. Hopefully you can follow us on our website, Spiel Fabrique, but also, of course, on Twitter, Facebook, all the social network, the usual social network, to follow us. If you have some comments, some ideas, please send it to us. Also, of course, look at the call for project that we will hopefully start in, let's say, in June next year, 21, and prepare your response to that, because we will be very happy to work with you. So thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, keep